You are live now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another class. Another lesson. Hoje é a nossa aula number 4, aula número 4, e nós vamos falar sobre aprender com filmes. Learning with or learning from films or movies, yeah? E aí eu quero saber, quem já tá aqui ao vivo comigo, se você usa filmes ou séries ou vídeos, né, do YouTube ou do Instagram, whatever, qualquer vídeo, para estudar inglês. Você já tem esse hábito de estudar usando vídeos? Coloca aqui para mim nos comentários, se você já tem este hábito de estudar com vídeos ou não. E se você já tem esse hábito, como você faz isso? Porque existem várias formas da gente estudar usando filme ou usando vídeo, né? Depende muito do seu objetivo e qual tipo de mídia que você vai escolher, né? Então, vou falar para vocês assim, eu trouxe algumas sugestões de acordo com níveis, ok? Se você é de um nível mais básico, iniciante, A1, A2, ou até o A2 é um pré-intermediário, né? É interessante que você assista filmes em inglês que você já viu antes. Por quê? Porque você já sabe a história e aí você consegue focar na língua, ok? Ou você pode optar por vídeos curtos, desenhos animados, né? Animação em geral, episódios de desenho animado, anime, ou filmes de animação, que costumam ter uma linguagem mais simples, mais acessível, por ser focado para o público infantil, né? E aí, se você assiste, por exemplo, um clássico como Nemo, você sabe a história do Nemo. Então, é muito mais fácil você focus on the language, né? Focar no inglês e não ficar preso à legenda. Porque, às vezes, as pessoas assistem filmes em inglês, colocam a legenda em português e acham que estão estudando. Na verdade, estão lendo ali a legenda em português o tempo inteiro e nem estão, né, ouvindo de forma ativa. É muito importante isso. Ah, Fernanda, mas na hora que eu tô vendo um filme, eu quero descansar. Tudo bem, você pode ver um filme no momento relax do seu fim de semana, mas se você quiser assistir um filme com o objetivo de aprender algo, né, from it, é importante que você tenha em mente essa questão de, então vou escolher algo que seja simples, né? Vamos supor, você é um iniciante, vai assistir um Grey's Anatomy, que é uma série de um hospital que tem vários termos técnicos, vai ficar mais difícil, né? Coisas que você não sabe nem em português. Ou uma série como Suits, que é sobre advogado, né? Que tem os processos, também tem um linguajar super específico. Ou então, se você pega uma série como Outlander, que é uma série, né, histórica, né, que volta lá, 1700, sei lá o que, é um inglês arcaico, vai ser um pouco mais difícil. Então, o ideal é você focar em desenhos animados ou filmes que falem sobre o dia a dia, histórias de família, de amigos, coisas assim, ok? Se você tem um nível intermediário, ou seja, você já consegue se comunicar um pouquinho mais, você já entende melhor, aí você pode arriscar um filme que você nunca tenha visto antes e assisti-lo todo em inglês com legendas em inglês. I love Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, it's so cool. I like it too. É uma série bem legal, mas é uma série desafiadora, né? Assim, séries de hospital, séries de crime, né? FBI, essas coisas assim, Law and Order, tem muito vocabulário específico. Então, se você não é da área, fica um pouco mais difícil de acompanhar, né? E a ideia sempre, pessoal, é quando você se propõe a assistir a um vídeo, né, a um filme, com o objetivo de aprender, é que seja algo adequado à sua realidade. Senão, você vai assistir, vai ser difícil e você se sente frustrado e aí desiste. E não é esse o objetivo, né? O objetivo, na verdade, é que você se sinta motivado e continue fazendo little by little, né? É claro que se livrar, entre aspas, da legenda requer tempo, né? E disciplina também. Então, não comece assim se cobrando, eu tenho que assistir um filme inteiro em inglês sem legenda. Não. Coloca a legenda em inglês, vê o que você consegue, aos pouquinhos você vai tirando. E pensando sempre em séries e filmes com tópicos mais gerais, mais de dia a dia, que são mais simples de entender. Agora, se você já tem um nível Upper Intermediate ou Advanced, que aí você já consegue entender bem mais, né? Você já tem muito mais bagagem lexical e gramatical, você pode tentar TED Talks, você pode tentar news, assistir programas de notícias e filmes em geral. E aí vai de cada um o desafio. Você vê o que te interessa e assistir coisas que te interessam, né? Isso também é bem importante de ter em mente. Não adianta, assim, às vezes as pessoas me perguntam, me indica um filme, me indica um vídeo, me manda um link, não sei o quê. Eu não sei exatamente o que você gosta, eu não sei exatamente qual é o seu objetivo, então ninguém melhor do que você mesmo para selecionar isso. O que eu gosto, o que eu acho que tá ok com o meu nível, né? E aí vou testar. Não deu certo hoje, tudo bem. Amanhã, depois de amanhã, outro dia, quando eu for estudar de novo, porque estudar com filmes é uma das formas de estudar. Nós já aprendemos nas aulas anteriores outras formas, né? Podemos estudar com aplicativos, podemos estudar com música, que até vai ser o tema da próxima aula, podemos estudar com gramática, com leitura. Existem várias formas de estudar. A mídia visual, que é o filme, né, o YouTube, vídeos em gerais, é mais uma forma de você estar em contato com a língua. E é uma forma muito eficiente, porque para a gente desenvolver bem a fala, nós precisamos ouvir bem. Normalmente, o aluno que tem dificuldade em listening, tem dificuldade de ouvir e identificar sons, ele tem muita dificuldade de produzir oralmente, porque são coisas que estão ligadas. Então, quanto mais você conseguir se expor à língua mesmo, ouvir o máximo possível, vai ficar mais fácil, menos longo, menos demorado a hora de você produzir oralmente, né? Na hora de você opinar, na hora de você falar em aula ou no seu trabalho, se você estiver usando inglês no seu trabalho. E aí, boa noite todo mundo que tá entrando, eu tô vendo vocês aqui. Eu perguntei no iniciozinho se alguém já tem o hábito de estudar com filmes, de assistir filmes em inglês. Não tive nenhuma resposta, então vamos ver se agora alguém manda. Aí a resposta, ou coraçãozinho, tô vendo os coraçãozinhos, pode mandar o coraçãozinho que ajuda na distribuição da live. Se vocês já têm a prática de usar filmes no estudo de vocês. Eu tenho essa prática já há muito tempo. Na verdade, na época em que eu estudava inglês como aluna, quando eu era adolescente, eu assistia muita série. Muita, né? Tinha mais tempo livre também. Assistia muita série. E como a internet não era tão fácil de acesso como hoje em dia, né? Era discada, essas coisas assim. Eu assistia muita série sem legenda. Porque a série saía lá nos Estados Unidos, eu baixava a série e assistia sem legenda antes dela chegar na televisão. E era uma ótima forma de treinar. Sim, eu tento, ótimo. É mais uma forma muito simples, gratuita e divertida, né? E aí hoje eu convidei uma aluna testimonial dela, né, o depoimento de como ela usa filmes no dia a dia dela para manter o inglês, porque ela já tem um nível avançado de inglês. Como é que ela usa as mídias, né, para manter o inglês, para manter o nível. E que outras coisas ela faz além de filmes e séries para deixar o inglês vivo na mente dela, né? Porque isso é muito importante, pessoal. Às vezes as pessoas acham que, terminei o curso, terminei as aulas, atingi meu objetivo, ok, já falo inglês, tô tranquilo. Mas se você não mantiver contato, aos pouquinhos as coisas, né, você vai esquecendo, principalmente vocabulário. Então é importante ter o hábito de cultivar o inglês, né? E eu convidei essa aluna hoje para falar aqui com a gente, a Júlia. A Júlia já tá aí? Posso te botar aqui no convite? E para ficar mais interessante a nossa aula, we are going to speak in English for a while. So you have the opportunity not only to learn some things about learning, how to learn, but also to practice your listening comprehension, perhaps learn some new words. Yeah? Okay, she wrote here. Okay. Hi, Julia.
Hello.
How are you?
Is it okay?
Yes, it's perfect. I can listen to you very well. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, not at all. I'm super happy to be here too.
Great. Julia, so you already speak English fluently, and can you tell people how you try to maintain your language?
Yeah. Usually, as Fernanda said, English is something that it fades if you don't practice. So one of the things that I usually do to try to keep it a bit up to date is to Google search in English everything that I want. It helps me to find a wider, how can I say, a vast
Pieces up of information.
Yes, a lot of this, because in Portuguese you kind of feel limited, but in English you have this ability to search a bit more. Yeah, movies, sitcoms, all come in English for me. If I'm very lazy, I usually use subtitles, but only in English. But when I just don't wanna stop watching what I'm watching, so I usually exclude completely the subtitles in order to pay attention to the plot, to everything that is happening. And as Fernanda said, for movies, something important is not just the role of the movie, but to understand some expressions as plot twist, actress, the actor, the plot, the role, the scenario. You have a lot of other words that help you understand movie context.
Yes, definitely. And this helps you to picture all the characters and the general idea. And that's why I said at the beginning of the class that it's much more useful when you watch a film that you already know the plot, you already know the story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you are not so confident about the language, if you don't understand so much, and that's perfectly okay. You are, you
But
are
you
a
can-
beginner or a pre-intermediate level. You may watch videos or films that you already know the story,
Yeah.
and then you can focus on the language and learn some expressions like Julia was saying.
Exactly.
English subtitles really help. Yeah, for sure. I like English subtitles, but I don't know if Julia will agree with me, but sometimes I have the feeling that I'm just reading and not really paying attention.
Yes, totally.
So there are many moments in which I simply don't put on subtitles and try to, and I listen.
That's it. That's exactly it. And One thing that it helped me to keep on subtitles in English or just listening in English with no subtitles is that when you listen to a movie, when you watch a movie and it's in Portuguese and then it's in English, it sounds weird. So you kind of have the idea that you are supposed to watch in the language that it was actually recorded. So,
Yes, that's true. That's true. I have this feeling too. In the past, I used to deny dubbed films. Like, I will not watch anything in Portuguese and, just English, 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 English. But Julia knows me she has known me for a long time, and she knows that I think and I work with English all day long, right, Julia?
yeah.
24/7. So sometimes I watch things in Portuguese just to have a break from my work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Otherwise, I have this feeling, Julia, that I'm just reading, and this is not my purpose to work
No.
on reading. And I think
Yeah,
most
exactly.
people have the same idea, right? I want to listen and understand in order to communicate when I travel or if I have a job interview or in these kind of situations, right?
Exactly.
And Julia, do you remember what was the last film or series that you watched in English?
Yes, I watched recently. I watched Travelers. It's a series about few travelers from the future that come back in the past to try to make amends with their present, but it doesn't really work well. So they keep on changing the future, and the future gets worse and worse and worse. But yeah, it's really nice. It's only 3 seasons. I'm actually waiting on the fourth, but it's a nice series. I was very caught up in this, and I really enjoyed it.
And this plot it reminds me of Dark, going back to the future.
Yeah,
Going,
I always
going
liked
to the
sci-fi
future,
stuff.
going to the past, going back and back and forth.
No, actually, they just come to the present. They are conscious, and in the future, takes a body that is about to die in the present, and the body starts to live with that conscience from the future. It's just very complicated, but super cool. Sorry.
And where did you watch it? On
Netflix.
Netflix?
Yeah, on
Netflix.
Netflix. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is an interesting suggestion, people.
Yeah,
Travelers, I will check
Travelers.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I will check it. I said dark, but dark is not a good suggestion in terms of English because it's in German.
Yeah.
So you will be listening to German and reading the subtitles in English. That's what I did. Did you do like this too, Julia?
Yeah, I did exactly.
Yeah, but
Sometimes I tried to switch to English to German subtitles to learn, but it was very complicated for me since German is, kind of another level. But
yeah.
the listening activity using the subtitles in English was actually very effective. You're able to catch up some words, so it's really nice.
Hmm. And besides watching series, Julia, do you try to watch or to listen to other stuff in your
Yeah,
on your daily routine?
yeah. Actually, I try to be kind of up to date to the world news using CNN and the other Washington Post. And I try to listen to podcasts about Joe Rogan. I guess this is it. I don't know if you're familiar with.
No.
It's an American. He usually have podcasts on like very a lot of different subjects. So it comes all the way from vaccine plus fighters and military and a lot of things. So he works with a lot of things, and I think this is the best part because vocabulary turns very uh, it's
Why?
a wider vocabulary. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is very interesting that you mentioned because sometimes students who are in intermediate level they reach a plateau and they have the feeling that their English is kind of stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And when you expose yourself to different kinds of language, you are able to develop your vocabulary much more. And
Yeah.
this is what makes you not only fluent but also a good communicator.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you are really able to talk about uh, any kind of topic in English. You are able to
Exactly.
discuss politics or films, that's something simpler, or talk about environment. And if you have the idea of taking an exam, an international exam like Cambridge, Michigan, or any other, it's crucial that you have this background
Yeah.
knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
not only linguistic, yeah, not only language, but you also need to have knowledge of the word knowledge
Yes.
to be
Yeah, one of the
curious.
things that really got me going on English, we all have that step where you're here and you feel like you did this. And the idea was everything that I usually do, I try to think in English. And one day, I was really young, I was learning English, and one day I realized that all this effort we're making were worth it when I realized that I was thinking in English or listening to something in English and couldn't turn the switch, you know? I was like thinking I was listening in Portuguese, but it was actually in English. You couldn't tell them apart, you know? They are
Mhm.
starting to melt in my mind. Yeah, they're turning
Your
into something.
brain was officially bilingual.
I guess this is it. So if someone feels that, I think that this is the checkpoint where you are like moving forward and different and new things are starting to come.
For sure. And this is a moment that is very particular because each one of us will reach these points in a different way and at different times.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I studied English for 7, 8 years, but only with 4 years, 5 years this happened. You know,
Yeah.
this is a continuous way. You have to keep on watching things and refreshing your mind and making it, pressing F5 on your mind to make it happen.
Yeah, of course. And updating yourself because language is dynamic. It's always changing. You
Yes.
know, if you think about our language, yeah, Brazilian Portuguese, there are things that my teenage students say that sometimes I have to Google because I don't know what they are talking about.
Yeah,
Because they
cringe,
use slang
cringe.
words, and the slang words of them that are 15 and 16, that they are not the same as our slang words when we were 15 and
Exactly.
16. Yeah,
Exactly.
there is an interesting comment here from Carol. For me, the most difficult is reading a whole book in English. I always stop the reading and look for words, meanings on dictionaries, so I get lost and never finish the book. Julia, have you ever faced this situation that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what I usually do? I read that paragraph and go to sleep. And I keep on playing that paragraph in my mind to make it work with what I read. And it helped me because when I went back to the book, I knew exactly where it stopped because of this
Mhm.
visualizing. I am a very visual person, so I read and I have to visualize, you know?
So do I. I need to do that as well. And perhaps it was Anna Carol that wrote this. Maybe Carol, uh, you are choosing dance books because there are some books that are hard to be read regardless of the language. Yeah, perhaps if you try a book that is simple, a little more less dense, less complex. For example, I started to read the 21 lessons for this century, something like that, and I stopped because it is a hard book to understand, not because of the language, but because the ideas are complex. So you need some maturity to understand some ideas. Or another book that I also started to read and I stopped was the one. Do you remember the name? Do you remember the name of the Obama's book? No, I don't remember. Obama's book, I don't remember the name. I couldn't keep going. And not because of English, but because he talks about politics, American politics, how the system works there, and I don't know. So even if I was reading Portuguese, I would had trouble to understand, I would have
Yeah.
trouble to understand.
One of the books that I liked when I was starting English, one of the books that I really enjoyed reading and to develop this different vocabulary, this more dense vocabulary, was Agatha Christie. Because mysterious books bring some description of the scenario or of what the person would be like and behavior,
Mhm.
adjectives. So these are things that really help to
For
understand,
sure.
yeah, to improve your vocabulary.
And you have the context, yeah, because sometimes you have in the book there is a lesson. Now that we're talking about descriptive language, I remember when I used to work at WISA a long time ago, there was a lesson about facial expressions. So smile,
Mm-hmm.
grin, giggle, laugh, ha ha ha. And the lesson has these words, and back then I had trouble to teach those
Yeah.
words because there was no context. But when you are reading a novel, these words appear from like your face, she
Yeah.
from anger. So these words in context, they are much easier for you to understand. And if you keep reading novels, for example, like Agatha Christie, these words come back.
Yes. And imagine if you're watching a movie with your friend and you want to describe that exactly scene. And you have to know, do you realize that he kind of frowned his face? So these words are kind of the point where you use to, make a, how can I say? I don't even know the word in Portuguese. Well, anyways,
It gives you more possibilities of explanation.
yeah, so some autonomy.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't need actually the help of Portuguese. You actually do that in English and it's fine, and you explain yourself, someone understands, because English is all about making yourself understandable. It's not
for
actually
sure.
keep speaking perfectly because these things come with time. But if you are like in the middle of New York and you start speaking English, people need to understand you. This is the idea for me of English, you
Of
know?
course,
So I need to
communication.
buy bread. You don't come to a bakery and say, no, you go like bread. People understand bread, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And there are countless people who travel abroad and they don't speak anything in English. They just go like body language, how much, and
Yes. There's a
things
t-shirt.
like that.
Yeah, there is a t-shirt where people use like a lot of symbols and they point out. So English comes in many ways, and that's just one way to express yourself. And
Exactly.
that shouldn't be so torturing for us. If you want to learn English, go ahead and embrace that. Go and speak up, speak out.
Speak up or please speak out. Both phrasal
Yes,
verbs are possible to be
go
used.
whatever you like.
Yeah, but this idea of embracing, it's very clear for you, as it was very clear for me when I started to study. But I think sometimes people wonder that English is gonna be like there will be that click, and
No, it's
many
a process.
courses sell that to that. Quando você vê, you are speaking. No, sorry, this is bullshit. It takes time. Because if you think about your speaking, you are speaking since class one. Since the first class, the teacher will ask you, or will ask you something like, what's your name? Like I said in the first class, and oh, my name is Fernanda. Most people can do that. Or you're going to keep repeating. words and sentences and you are
Exactly.
speaking, but this doesn't mean that you are able to communicate.
Yes. And one thing else is like people are kind of shy to speak English, you know? Ah, eu não vou falar inglês porque eu fico com vergonha. No, speak English. You
I used to be
know?
like that.
I used to. I used to. Até que um dia eu fui para os Estados Unidos e eu tive que pegar um ônibus sozinha. E eu tive que me virar. People could have, people could laugh of my face or people could speak English to me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
it comes naturally. You put yourself there, out there.
Exactly. You have to expose yourself, yeah? But even before you were in the US, you were already exposing yourself in Brazil and
Yes.
practicing the language. There is another interesting comment here about cartoons. I totally agree. Cartoons, something that is very cool is watching cartoons in English. Yes, for sure. Cartoons, animation. I talked about Nemo at the beginning of the lesson. I don't know if you were already here, Julia. When we
Uh-huh.
know the story, it's much easier to focus on the language. And cartoons or animations in general, they usually have very simple vocabulary
Yes,
because they
and
are for
they
kids, right?
exactly, and the whole cartoon itself, it's very driven to the idea that they want to give you, because they don't want to complicate a lot. It's for kids, you know, so kids need to understand what's there, and they don't actually understand a lot of
Exactly.
vocabulary yet, but
Mm-hmm.
they understand the context. So it's
Exactly.
actually very easy. If you like cartoons, I totally, you know, go for it. Watch cartoons, it's best.
Yeah, it works a lot. And
Hmm.
something that I think it's useful for intermediate advanced level students is to watch interviews. I personally love watching
Yeah.
interviews because different from movies that have a script, yeah, this is very interesting because there's a huge debate in ELT, the English language teaching world, that if videos and films are authentic materials or not. Because when you think that, oh, a video is authentic material, so it's real English, but then you think, no, it's not really real English because they have a script. Real English is what we are doing right now. We are having a conversation in English. So
Yes.
this is authentic material. There is a
Yes.
whole debate about this. But anyway, just a parenthesis. Uh, but why did I say that? Okay, I remember. Because of the interviews. Do you have the habit of watching or listening to interviews in English? What do you think about these methods? We can call it
Yeah,
like that.
sometimes I watch actually series on documentaries, and I don't think that they are kind of scripted. So I feel like these are kind of interviews somehow, you know? But interviews for itself, I actually don't. I should actually. I
Yeah,
should. Because
it,
the to improvise is something difficult, you know? To
mhm. Yeah.
anyway, so this is difficult. I mean, English is something that if you know how to express yourself, it's the best way you can to speak your English. I mean, for example, something that actually works for me is the pronunciation. Sometimes I have the feeling that if you speak English like an American, water, you know,
Party.
uh, yeah, party, it's supposed to
Hello,
be.
Sonia, how are you? Let's go to the party.
I feel like this is easier because we watch a lot of movies in English, in American English. But
Yeah,
when I was
definitely.
learning English, something that was a click for me was when you start to speak with British accent, for example, or Australian accent. Force the expression, force the pronunciation. You will see that English might come easier for you, and that is probably the pronunciation that you should be speaking, you know? I feel like this is something. You don't have to put yourself in a box and speak American English because that might
Mm-hmm.
be hard for you to actually develop that. So try something
Exactly.
different. You have to
And this
understand.
is something that is totally old-fashioned nowadays. It's totally old school because we cannot talk about American English and British English. We talk about global English.
Yes, exactly.
If you think like every 3 out of 5 people who speak English are non-native speakers.
See?
They speak English. Yeah, they speak English as a foreign language or a second language. So you see, we are here talking, we are chatting, we are using English, but we are not native speakers of the language. We are
No.
Brazilians. Our first language is Portuguese. See how insane this is? We could be speaking Portuguese because we are both Brazilian, but we are speaking English because we want to practice and to teach people here
Yes.
tonight, right? So this idea of American British is
Totally
really
old.
old
Yeah.
school, It's
Yeah.
totally outdated. We
Mm-hmm.
have to think of global English, communication, and speak with your accent.
Yes. The
There's
accent that
nothing
comes out,
wrong
that's
about
your.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong about that. And the more exposed you are to different kinds of English, it's better for you as a speaker. So if you, I remember when I was preparing for the Cambridge proficiency exam, I started to listen to the radio in English and radio from like Canadian radio, Jamaican, different, not British and American because in the exam they put
Yeah.
whatever kind of accent,
Right.
Indian, Scottish, Australian, whatever. And I started to search for different kinds of accents and I realized like, oh my God.
It's all very difficult. It's all very
Mind
different.
blowing. I
Yes.
need to expose myself. But after you start to expose yourself, it gets less difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Because
a
you
matter of
understand the
practice.
diversity. You don't feel, close to that box that I talked in the beginning. You don't have that box. It's you. Your English is yours, and that's it.
That's it. Love it. Like I said,
Love it.
embrace
Yes.
it and love it. And be proud of that. This is
Yeah.
something that I try to work on all my classes because here in Brazil we are over critical about this. So there are people who criticize, for example, Rodrigo Santoro that speaks English and makes films, or Gisele Bündchen. Anita. I have already seen a lot of people saying bad things about her English. It's like, come on, she's communicating, she's making money with her English. So
Yes.
you should respect her and take her as an example and not the opposite. So you
That's
don't
right.
speak anything in English and you want to say that the other person speaks badly?
Yeah.
Something's not
Exactly.
right.
And come on, respect. You don't got to judge anyone. Everyone is at their pace, trying their best. So you don't judge
Yeah.
people. You don't
And
judge anyone.
if you think of the opposite, when the gringos come here and they speak, podem me ajudar? Ah,
Obrigado.
oh my gosh,
Yes,
they
we're like, oh, so
and come on, and a Brazilian person that's giving her best to speak English is terrible. But
it's terrible.
we have the tendency of always valuing
The outsider.
what comes from the outside, yeah,
Yeah.
and not what we have here. So I think it's very important that we take value and we appreciate how hard it is in a country like Brazil that is developed, sorry, that does not offer good opportunities of learning English at schools, public and private, because I studied at public and I study at private schools, and my English is from Cultura Inglesa. It's from the course, it's not from school. And I believe in your case it's the same.
Yes, exactly. It's the
It's from the
same.
course. We learned from the course, not from schools. So
No.
we still have a long way to develop in terms of education to offer good and quality English at schools.
Yes. And you know
Yeah.
what? For For instance, do you know how is the percentage of people speaking English in Brazil? Brazilians speaking English in Brazil.
Well, the last time that I read about this research, the last research, I think it's from 2019, and it's less than 5% of people speak English,
In the
and
whole
people who are
world.
considered fluent, it's around 1.9, like almost to 2%.
You see, so these people, when you meet someone that's trying to speak English, you have to, support that person. Speak English together.
Exactly.
Let's make this network of spreading English, because if you know this much and I know this much, I don't know, maybe this much there's something here that I don't know. And this is something,
Exactly.
this is enrichment. I mean, I don't know. I think judging people and trying to stop their development is not smart, but actually working with that person and giving feedbacks and giving ideas, movies to what movies to watch, or what
Mhm.
musics to listen to. These are the things that makes us great, because
Exactly.
we're
Learning
small.
from each other.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's my point.
We should be more committed to these things. So if I call you to grab a beer, you will come. But if I
Yeah.
call you to speak English, maybe you will not. Come on.
Yeah.
Friends that study together, but they don't study together outside of the classroom, or something that I try to promote with my groups when we have WhatsApp groups is to speak only English there in the group. And I realized that the only one that starts the conversation is me,
Mm-hmm.
because people are afraid. So we have to
Yeah.
build a safe environment to make people feel comfortable in order to start to speak.
Yes.
So it's a lot of work, my friend.
Yeah, and you know what? I read once that if you drink alcoholic beverages and you feel this urge to speak English, let it flow. Because,
For sure.
yeah,
That's why
because
I
it's a
like pub
great,
experience. But now in the pandemic, we didn't have these. But before the pandemic, I used to do that with some students.
yeah,
To go
because
out to drink and to speak in
this
a
is
relaxed
how your
way.
brain reacts. It feels like I want to speak English, let it speak. That's basically the idea here. I mean,
Exactly.
if you're from the team that drinks alcoholic beverages.
Yeah, of course. If you're not, you try something else. No problem.
Yeah, no problem. You eat a cake.
Yes. Julia, thank you so much for your
Yay.
participation tonight. I hope people had take advantage from your knowledge, yeah, and your suggestions. And if anybody has any questions, just drop here. There is this box of, actually it's a bubble. Yeah, it's not a box.
Oh, yeah,
A
I've seen this.
question mark. Tem uma caixinha com uma interrogação. There is a comment here. Once I saw a Brazilian at the supermarket imitating a cow to an American guy. He was actually trying to find out where was the milk roll.
See? I,
Body
I,
language. We
yeah,
use it. Think of a baby. When we are babies, we communicate by crying, and our family has to figure it out what the
figure it
hell we
out,
want.
yes.
Yeah. But
Amazing.
miming is something that I do a lot, Julia. Do you do it? When I watch a film, you know,
Yeah.
I repeat the lines.
Yeah, I do too. Especially when you watch, for example, over and over, you start using that reference, for example, Friends. I know! You make the references and you start speaking alike, and all these things happen.
Exactly. Sometimes even before they speak, I say the line.
Yes, me too, but we're like addicts.
Yeah, we are not normal people. But anyway, it helped a lot because
Hmm.
this helps with intonation,
Yes, with intonation
putting emotion
and
in your speaking. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
So it's a wonderful chance to improve not only your speaking skills but your confidence, because we are only able to speak better when we feel comfortable with the language and when we feel comfortable with our mistakes as well, because they will come along, right?
Yeah, and now I'm gonna make this comment in Portuguese. Se você travar, como várias vezes a gente estava conversando aqui e travou, isso é completamente normal. Às vezes a gente esquece de falar em português. Qual o problema de esquecer em inglês? Tipo, você dá um jeito de chegar lá, você vai explicando. Então, por exemplo, teacher, how can I say this? Aí, tipo, a pessoa não sabe explicar, e você fala, it tells the time, you know? Você cria a sua forma de explicar. E tá tudo ótimo. That's basically what it is.
Exactly. If you don't know the word, rephrase it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that goes for everything in life.
For sure. And I really liked your suggestion about Googling things in English. I think this is wonderful. And if you are in a low level of English, you can do the comparison. You can Google in Portuguese and then you Google in English and you try to compare. The idea is that you don't need to understand everything. You need to understand the context.
Yes.
That's the first step. And little by little, you will get a little bit more, right?
I totally agree with you.
Okay, thank you, Julia, so much. You're wonderful, a wonderful student and friend. I love you. And thanks everybody that is watching us. Next week, we are going to be here talking about music. Como aprender com música é o tema da aula 5 da próxima semana. Eu espero todos vocês, convidem amigos, participem. Júlia também, vou aguardar você aqui de novo.
Tá bom.
And have a great week. Thank you.
Também. Tchau, tchau.
Bye, bye.